Good evening and welcome to this delayed episode of News Unboringed. I'm sure it's been painful to have to deal with another boring day in news, and I do apologise for making you wait for this episode of News Unboringed. But let's get back into the swing of it. News Unboringed is, of course, the show where we take the boring out of the news, but unfortunately not the depression, and instead of boring, we add cringe. That's a new one for the saying, yeah. You've got even more to remember now. Don't worry, it won't take too long, and I'm not going to give you a detention if you don't. There's no exam on this. Right. So, let's begin. Jeremy Hunt, or as I like to call him, Jeremy Cunt, says significant tax cut in the budget are unlikely. And he says the government's plans to halve inflation is actually a huge tax cut in itself. Yeah, your plans to do it. Like, if you halve inflation, maybe it'll feel a bit like a tax cut, but, like, your plans don't immediately mean, woo, we got a tax cut! Jeremy Hunt said he's going to reduce inflation! Woo! He definitely could have worded that one better. And whatever they say, they probably mean for the rich, so fuck them. Moving on, Alan Cumming hands back his OBE over the toxicity of the Empire historically, which we all know. It was bad. And has anyone seen that fucking Doja Cat? Like, it's beauty, and then there's this. Like, I don't want to ridicule her. She's doing what she wants, and I have full respect for people who are able to do that constantly. But, like, it's just weird. But, like, as I said, I don't give a shit. And an NHS trust has found over £800,000 over a baby's death being caused by failings in the care of it. He died after 23 minutes. It was caused by a catalogue of failings, and it exposed Winter, who was the baby who died in 23 minutes, and her mother and his mother Sarah to a significant risk of harm that ended up killing Winter. However, Grace Leong, the district judge, says she was acutely aware that the fine would be paid by funds that would usually be used for patient care. So it's the last thing that they really need, isn't it? The country's a mess. The NHS is a mess. I could go on all day. I have gone on massive tangents about it, and yeah, I'm sure you've heard enough about it, but yeah, honestly, it's an absolute mess. The stuff that the average patient is having to go through just to get the care that they deserve. As I said, there was an old man with dementia who had to wait 51 hours in the corridors before getting put into a ward, despite being a vulnerable man in his 80s with dementia who desperately needed it. And yeah, honestly, he is not the only one like this. There are thousands, probably, if not tens of thousands, maybe. Maybe that's a bit much, but not far from it, who have suffered because of the state of the NHS. And it's all because of the Tories. I'm not going to go on for much longer about it, because it might turn boring. And that's not what we want, is it? Bosses secretly want their staff back in office because it's just better for them, isn't it? Like, obviously. That's not a secret. We all know that they'd rather that. There's pills women buy that could help them potentially spot ovarian cancer. There's always, like, little remedies. It's hardly breaking news. Who cares? Dyche is expected to be appointed Everton manager. Everton are almost like a more simple way to describe how messy the state of the country is. How messy the state of Everton is almost equalled, if not beaten in terms of messiness by the Tory government. It's very similar to the Tory government, actually. It's almost like a representation. Djokovic is playing Tsitsipas in the Australian Open, yeah. And a woman lay dead in a flat for 3 years. The fact that she wasn't found, that is just mad. Crazy. Would you not look? Would you not notice the smell? Did it close and no one bothered to check? How does that happen? Honestly, in this day and age, how on earth does that happen? And the jailing of a trans rapist The Bryson is a shambles, says the prison chief. And it was unnecessary. Sending a transgender rapist who only transitioned after being convicted was an unnecessary shambles. I presume because she went through male puberty and stuff. And if there was any fights, usually there'd be a clear winner, I suppose. But, like, say what you want about it being transphobic, but ultimately who cares about a prisoner's comfort? Thousands of pupils will have to stay home due to the strikes. We know. I'll have to. Country's a mess. Teachers need to be paid better. Moving on. And Belfast Trust says they're sorry over contaminated blood. And people have been affected and have been affected and infected by these products, and they've just not worked and had an adverse effect. Which, yeah, it's a shame. They need to, I'm not sure that apology will be widely accepted because there's a lot. Because, like, a simple apology for the amount of distress is caused to many, and the infections, sorry, I suppose, won't really cut it, and I don't know. If they're willing to refund, then maybe that'll help it a little. Jeremy Renner, who broke 30 bones in an accident earlier in January, was trying to save his nephew when he got injured. And a singer was added to Lewis Capaldi's tour after a drunk DM. Alright, in a bit. Just pretend I'm drinking, obviously I'm not. This is a joke. Hey, Taylor Swift, can you add me to your Eras tour? It's the only man I should be able to ask you because, oh shit, the state of the tickets. Oh yeah, of course, Ticketmaster and Taylor Swift. Did you not see the US government hearing with all the horrible Taylor Swift puns? Like, ultimately justice was served and Ticketmaster was thingies for their disgraceful handling of it. But honestly, Ticketmaster did horribly. But what was even horribler, that's not a word. What was even worse was the Taylor Swift puns during the hearing. Good God. And in other news, people are given less of a reason to watch GB News than they already do, because it's shite. Jacob Rees-Mogg is going to host a show. I'd watch it just to laugh at how shit he'd be as a host. He went from a cabinet minister to a host on a reality channel. Well, that is it for today's episode of News Unboringed. I will see you either next week, which is unlikely, or in the next emergency episode, which probably will happen. However you get your news, make sure it's not boring. Good night.